Brought to you by the Astro Youth House chapter from STEM Arts Lab, Space on Earth is a student-led podcast that inspires listeners who are curious about space to explore the wonders of the universe through the voices of young thinkers, creators, and dreamers.
Each episode blends personal curiosity with scientific discovery, from the mysterious depths of black holes to the practical impacts of space on Earth, like GPS, climate science, and medicine.
Hosted by STEM Arts students from Taos, New Mexico, this podcast draws connections between space, art, and science, how these things all impact us here on Earth, and their meaning to humanity.
You'll hear raw, insightful conversations about topics like light pollution, the overview effect, lunar exploration, and the societal impact of the space race.
Whether you're into exoplanets, dark energy, or just stargazing from your backyard, Space on Earth makes space personal, accessible, and inspiring. We believe that space isn't just for astronauts and scientists, it's for everyone.
Join us on this adventure as we explore the cosmos from Earth, one story at a time.
Special thanks to the Lore Foundation for helping launch this podcast.
Hi, my name is Taylor.
And my name is Shaylee.
Today we are joining you guys to talk about space and our backgrounds with it and what interests us.
Yeah, and so there's a whole bunch of different areas evolving around space that we could definitely talk about, but what interests you, Taylor? Like, what is that one topic that you absolutely love to talk about?
I mean, for me, I personally, if you get me started on space, I could talk for hours and just be completely obnoxious about it. What I think for today, just going into my background a bit with space, personally, I've always been super interested in it since I was a really young kid. Reading about space, learning about it has always been so fascinating to me, and I've always been very drawn to it. And it's just been such a large part of how I've grown up and how I've lived my life. What about you?
Well, I've also have had space and stars and everything pretty much involved in my life as well, ever since I was a little kid. Just growing up in a smaller town where the bright skies are always bright at night, and just being able to look up, look at the sky and just see the shining stars. It just makes me wonder, like, hey, what's out there? Why do the stars look like that? Why do they shine so brightly compared to other things? Yeah, it's just been always a constant part of my life. And so I've always just had a unique interest in it.
Yeah, totally. It's definitely that curiosity thing that's been so interesting to me. And that's what's really drawn me to learning about space, learning about the cosmos, is that we have such a small and limited concept of what is going on around us. And with everything we know, everything we learn, that puts us a step closer to learning something else. And that's what's been so intriguing to me. And I just I love staring at the sky and sitting down and just looking up. And that's always been a thing. I've done that with my family, stargazing, watching meteor showers. I have memories with friends where we would sneak onto her roof at 3 in the morning to watch whatever event was going on in the sky. And it's always been such an important thing to me. And like you said, growing up in a small town, I have that too. And it's great. I love it.
Yeah, definitely. Growing up in a small town, there's not always a lot to do, but like the sky is just like always there. It's always a constant thing that you can always just like, hey, do you want to go stargazing, look up the sky, see what we see? And so I think that just being able to look up at the sky and see the stars just in general has always been such a great part of like growing up in a small town.
Yeah. I mean, also, yes, looking at the stars, and I love constellations. I mean, how much would you are you very interested in constellations? Is that a thing for you?
I do like constellations. Am I able to identify them like right on the spot? Definitely not. But I do love looking at them and seeing the different pictures and just like seeing the different connections and how people, I just love like the stories behind them as well. Just like we'll look at the stars and then make a story behind it and then picture all these different connections revolving around a certain cluster of stars.
Yeah, definitely. And like Shaylee, what you're saying about identifying them, I just that's so real to me because I love it. I love the constellations. I can talk for them about so long if I still struggle to find Little Dipper some nights. Like, my sense of direction just gets so thrown off. But
Yeah,
and what you were saying about just the stories behind it, that's what's so interesting to me. And, I'm very interested in psychology. And so for me, I see that as this perspective of we had humans looking up at the sky and seeing these dots and making shapes between them and saying, those lights in the sky document a person's life. And I think that that says a lot about human nature and the fact that we still have those stories today and those constellations and we can still see that. And I don't know, I've always found that interesting. And I have my own personal like connections and stories with some constellations. Like every time I see Scorpius, I remember experiences I've had in the past where I've looked at the stars. So yeah, that I love constellations.
yeah, and definitely just like going off more on the stories behind them, just like knowing that people so many years before us were able to just look up at the sky and make those connections, and then we still know these stories today.
Yeah.
It just brings us a closer sense of self and a closer sense of the world around us. Just being like, hey, they knew that back then. We know that now. Everything's just sort of connected and intertwined in that way.
Yeah, definitely. It's the connection thing. And for me, one thing about space is like you were saying about everything being connected, is everybody talks about that experience of, oh, you look up at the sky and you know how large those objects are, you know how large space is, and it makes you feel so small in comparison. I don't feel like that. I've always had this feeling of everything out there is connected to everything here, and we are all made of the same stuff. And there's so much out there. And I get the sense of like oneness where I feel almost larger than myself. And I think that that oneness and looking up at the sky, like it almost connects us as people, which is definitely, overlook effect is so interesting. And we could talk about that for so long. But yeah, I just totally with everything you're saying about it being connected. That's what I love.
Yeah, definitely. It just like gives you a larger sense of self. And then going off on like the overview effect that you said, yeah, it's an amazing feeling and something that I hopefully wish to experience one day. I've heard different people talk about it and say different things about it, saying how it's so outworldly and just like it brings them a different sense of self.
Okay.
Just like being able to perfectly describe that, which is something I personally could not do. Like just being able to hear different people talk about that and just trying to get that feeling. Cause like there's so many people that haven't been to space and just being able to describe that feeling to them, it's something that can't really be accomplished perfectly until you actually go to space.
Yeah. I mean, I think that that's great. Personally, could I ever go into space? Absolutely not. Like, I feel like there's so much here that I can appreciate, and space is so cool and is so terrifying, and that's what I love about it. But yeah, and it's what I love about hearing people talk about it, seeing people talk about it, is that, you can see the look in their eyes that's just beyond, we hear people talk about these incredible experiences in their life. And every time I hear somebody talk about their experience with going to space or seeing the planet, it is, I would say like it's out of this world, pun not intended. But I think it's so incredible, really. One thing for this podcast is what are you hoping to accomplish in future episodes and talk about?
Well, I definitely want to be able to describe different events and other things that are going on and just let the people know, like, hey, we come from a very small background, but we're able to talk about it and just like being able to share what we think and what we feel about space and the different events going on. And just letting people know, like, hey, we by any means are not scientists, we're not professionals in any way. We want to inform, we want to make people be heard, seen, and yeah, just like emphasizing, like, hey, even though we're not scientists, we're not from a big community or anything, we are still able to get our voices out there and just talk, making sure that space is for everyone, not just for those that are like astronauts that are wealthy, how they do commercial space flights or how they're trying to, making sure that people know that space isn't just for the rich and those who think that it's accessible. It's accessible for everyone to just like talk about, get to know. You can always be informed. And yeah, just stuff like that. What about you, Taylor? What do you hope to accomplish from this?
Yeah, and so, like you were saying, for everybody listening, that's really the purpose of what we're doing here. Is just so that you guys can learn stuff and hear people talk about stuff coming from Shaylee and I, who don't have very extensive backgrounds in space and who are just interested in it. And really, it's personally, I want to be able to show you guys, listeners, that that you can take those interests and learn more about it and contribute to the world of space. Also, eh, as a heads up, we are planning to bring on scientists and professionals to discuss topics. We'll probably do that in forms of interviews. So stay tuned for that. And if you guys have any idea of stuff you want to hear, stuff you're interested in, let us know, reach out to us, and Shaylee and I will be happy to cover it in future episodes.
Yeah, definitely. Because like we said, we're not by any means scientists or professionals, but like we will bring in other scientists or professionals to help us talk about matters that require a deeper understanding and more intricate level of knowledge and other things that require a wider knowledge of facts and just little things like that. 'Cause we can talk all we want about space science and what we think about it, but there are certain things that we definitely don't know and that we would have to reach out for. But yeah, for now, it's just going to be me and Taylor talking about space, what we think about it, the different events. But eventually, later on, we will be bringing in scientists, getting to know what they think about it. And yeah, pretty much just all of that. And so, Taylor, what is, do you have a favorite type of constellation, type of star, anything like that? What is your favorite thing about space and
My
why?
favorite thing about space, that's like almost an impossible choice. And like I said, I could go on for hours about this and be super obnoxious with it. You said like favorite type of star. Personally, I really like T-type stars because I don't know, it's super it's very niche. And my reasoning is that there aren't a lot of known ones and they have kind of a purplish color to them. And I think that's cool. So that's favorite type of star. But I mean, I think really topics I'm interested in, like even binary star systems, I'm super interested in. And there's the whole thing with the Betelgeuse star, which I would love to go into in another episode and talk about that and learn about that. And oh, I love black holes. I think they're just so fascinating. And it's a lot of that is that sense of we know so little about black holes. And they're this like massive like existence out in the universe that we really don't know that much about. And it's this question. And that's what's so interesting to me is the unknown. What about you? What are you interested in learning about as we go on?
I would definitely like to learn more about black holes just generally, because like you said, there's so much that we don't know about them. Everyone knows like the simple base facts, like they're that big, scary thing in the middle of space. But
Mhm.
like, what are they other than that? Like, I want to know like specifics to it and just like get to know a little bit more about it. Also, just like going off on more of the stars, I'd also want to know like the lifespan of a star. Like, I know the simple basics of it, but like knowing the specifics of how it starts off and then how it dies later on, and just like the after effects of what happens after it dies.
Yeah, star life cycles are really neat. That was definitely a topic that I was really interested in as a kid, and I still am. I remember like sitting on the floor of my room and I was reading this book, just talking, it was talking about the life cycle of our sun and timeline. And, you're looking at this scale in terms of billions of years, like thousands of billions of years. And that to me was one of the first times that I really felt that sense of how huge the universe is on so many different levels. And I remember reading about how at some point the sun exploding, getting larger and swallowing the inner planets. And I like ran out to the kitchen and my mom was cooking dinner. I told her, I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard. The earth is just going to get eaten by the sun. And it's just that concept of something that seems scary, but I think that scary unknown stuff is one of the most fascinating parts about space. And I would love to have an episode on star life cycles, black holes, stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. But like you said, just like the whole mysterious unknown side of space, that is especially something I want to get into. Like there's so much about space we don't know. Space is such an enormous and big thing that we don't know a lot about. Because like compared to the enormity of space, we are just like one tiny little speck in an infinite sea of whatever else is out there. Do we know what else is out there? We have a somewhat simple idea, but the farther out we go, the less we know. And just being able to explore that and just see what's out there, that's something that I especially want to do. Probably something we will not do in our lifetime, I think, but
Yeah.
no, just seeing what's out there to the best of our abilities.
And I'm totally on board to make like super theoretical discussion episodes talking about, life on other planets, what's out there. So that's definitely something that, we could be talking about in the future. But like I said earlier, for you listeners, if there's anything you're interested in hearing about where you've thought, oh, this is interesting, I want to know more about it, or if it's something we bring up, reach out to us, let us know. We really appreciate the feedback and we will be sure to, bring it up, touch on that, or maybe even have a full episode on a topic you guys are interested in. So let
Yeah,
us know stuff like that.
yeah, definitely. Me and Taylor are always here to talk about whatever you guys want us to talk about. There are definitely things that we may not be the best experts on, but we can always do some research, do a little episode, talk about it, even if it's just for a brief moment. Let us know what you want to hear about, and we'll try to make it happen.
Well, that concludes our first episode. Thank you guys so much for listening and supporting us. I'm Taylor,
And I'm Shaylee.
and we will see you guys next week.